Simiao, 3 dates. Every day I eat 3 dates. I don't chew them, but let them dissolve. My 5 organs are of a fine brocade, though what I wear is a filthy, dirty robe. Okay, so we continue with poems of a Daoistic inclination. This is a poem by Simiao, who lived approximately from 581 to 682. And he is not really known as a scholar official or even as a poet. He was a Daoist physician. In fact, he became worshipped in later generations as Yao Wang, the king of medicine, and was given posthumous titles by emperors. But, he basically straddled the Shui and early Tang, and he was summoned at different times to court. He was a member of the Chengji, or Orthodox Unity School of Taoism, and lived most of his life in Mount Taibo. And as I said, he was summoned from time to time by emperors, including Taizong and Gaozong. And, he was temporarily in the capital, but he was mostly not interested in the world of the court and in positions. So he was a very famous practitioner of Taoist alchemy and Neidan, and today's poem is a good representative of this. Now, Taoism is a complex and multifaceted field. Like, you can analyze it as a philosophy, you can analyze it as a religion, you can analyze it as a series of popular beliefs, you can analyze it as a series of alchemical beliefs. This short poem is very representative, therefore, of the last one I mentioned, of Taoist alchemy, especially Neidan, internal alchemy. So one core concept, one core idea of Taoism is the idea that one needs to prolong one's life. Well, not need, but it's desirable to prolong one's life. And there are methods for achieving this. Some of those methods are social and political, and they appear in the classical Taoistic texts like the Chuang-Tzu or the Tao Te Ching. And it's the idea of retiring from society, not wanting to get involved into the political and social system. And therefore, the ideal Taoist abandons society and goes and lives as a hermit in the mountains. And from a direct perspective, this is a way of prolonging one's life, because occupying high positions at court is always dangerous. Yeah. But another way of prolonging one's life is through alchemy. The idea was that certain ritual practices, certain physical activities, certain dietary restrictions would purify a person and would allow one to improve one through a sort of like inner body alchemy that would allow you to live longer, even potentially to live forever. Once you achieve this balance of your energy within your body, illness is seen as the breaking of this balance or as demons attacking you. So if you are able to stop that somehow, you would be able to live forever. And this concept gets translated into other inner transformations, like those of turning metals into gold, that are typical from Western alchemy as well. And this juxtaposes with religious Taoism, which is the idea that, you can become a transcendent and immortal that lives in some heavenly realm or realms, because, for Taoism, there are lots of these realms. And there you can live forever, a life of happiness in one of those Taoist paradises. Okay, so as we said, Sun Simiao got a reputation as a great doctor, and in fact, many treatises about Taoist medicine were later attributed to him, whether rightly or wrongly. But a lot of traditional medicine has its roots in these Taoist theories and techniques of nourishing life. So the poem that we have today, very short one, doesn't have a title. It's a pentasyllabic quatrain. I've called it 3 dates just because it's the image that appears in the first line. It is one of the 6 only poems by Sun Simiao that are preserved in the Chuan Tangxi. And again, my reason for including it here, more than a purely aesthetic, as a poem, it's not very impressive, is because it gives me an excuse of including another Taoist and talking about Taoist beliefs. So what's the poem about, straightforwardly? Well, it denotes a good dietary practice. I think among the dietary habits of Taoists, of hermit Taoists, were eating mushrooms renouncing cereals. The idea was that cereals, the basic staple food of Chinese society and of all agricultural societies really, were damaging for the body. And alcohol too. Well, it was believed that, well, alcohol was made from cereals. It was distilled from these cereals. So they mainly ate these wild plants and numinous mushrooms. They would also, abstain from lots of foods. They would try to imbibe small amounts of mercury, because mercury was, associated with cinnabar, which gives this red, shiny paint, and was associated with immortality. And, lots of Taoists and emperors who followed Taoism probably died from mercury poisoning after consuming pills made with cinnabar. But anyway, in this poem, it's not cinnabar what the poetic persona is imbibing, it's dates. Interesting thing here, dates are what we usually call in the West jujubes. They are the fruits of a tree that grows pretty well in the Mediterranean as well, Sisyphus jujuba, which gives these small apple-like fruits that then, they're like very, very small apples, very crunchy and crispy, elongated. And if you leave them in the tree, like, they dry up, they become like brownish and a little bit sweeter. However, they're not extremely sweet. I have a couple of trees in my garden. So dates were associated also with medicine, and they were believed to be healthy. And here they are, the food that Sun Simiao eats for keeping healthy, for performing this divine alchemy that will allow him to live forever. So the poem is about that, a good dietary habit, but also the poem emphasizes the contrast between inner health and outer looks. Remember, Daoists have this slightly antisocial frame of mind, which makes sense when you contrapose it to Confucianism. Confucianism is all about serving in office, being a good citizen, being a good father, being embedded in society, and that also includes a belief in social values and in language. Taoism adopts this more retired hermitic attitude, and in philosophical Taoism, there's this big distrust of language and of reason, which makes Taoism very appealing to New Age, hippie-like spirits, live in nature, commune with the logic of the cosmos, and reject ration and logic and this sort of stuff. So there is a contrast in the second line here between inner health, inner flourishing, and outward poor appearance, which is an image that appears a lot in Taoist texts, like a gnarled tree that looks ugly and is unfit for cutting into wood, or for carving into beautiful furniture or pillars. That's the tree that lives long, because power does not get to it. And again, a person who looks miserable and poorly and not successful, a hermit, he might be the one who purifies himself and attains long life, or even potentially immortality. So let's go through the poem pretty quickly, because it's just 2 couplets. Every day I eat 3 dates. I don't chew them, but let them dissolve. So he eats 3 dates. We don't know if he eats more than 3 dates. Some Taoists pretended to live on no food or on hardly any food at all, just dew and magical mushrooms. So, important thing of Taoist alchemy, you don't just, even when you consume certain types of food, you don't just consume them in any way. There are methods that will intensify the power and the positive effects of these foods. So here, the dates are eaten, but he doesn't chew them. He very patiently waits until they dissolve in his mouth. He moves them around, moves them around, moves them around. What are the effects of consuming these 3 dates a day? Second couplet tells us, my 5 organs are of a fine brocade. So what I wear is a filthy, dirty robe. So here we have, that importance of inner health trumping material wealth in order to maintain a healthy, long life. Yeah. So he might look poor from the outside. He's a Taoist hermit. He's wearing rags. He's not wearing the clothes of a courtier. But his 5 organs are of a fine brocade, and that's what matters. His 5 organs, the main organs in the body, according to Chinese medicine and to Taoist practices. And, the 5 organs are flourishing, they are fine brocade, and that's what matters. They are unseen, but they are what will guarantee long life and health to Sun Simiao. So, just a short poem emphasizing these Taoists' views of the world. Human life is the most valued thing, and it is priceless. Yeah, which is, a very key idea of Taoism.